Hey everybody, this is Yduck, and this time on Neoplanet S, we've got 2 European players. So, let's get the introductions going. In the top left, spawning as the Blue Terran, we've got Bunny. And his opponent, spawning in the bottom left as the Red Terran, we've got Cass. Now, just in case you're wondering, there is a bunny from Europe and there is a bunny from Korea, but this is not the bunny that plays for Cj Entus. This is the Danish bunny, and he does play for the Copenhagen Wolves. So, just to cut out that confusion, this is not the Korean bunny. Mind you, I'm sure Korea does have its own bunnies, but not this time. And we're gonna have to find out in this TVT mirror matchup where the differences are going to be, and eventually there will be some, and immediately there is one. Cass going for the refinery before barracks, Bunny going for the more conservative barracks play first and then refinery. But Cass needs that gas for something, so what kind of chicanery is he going to be up to? He's putting down his barracks, and interesting, he's not putting his barracks near the ramp to help with blocking entrance into his main. We'll have to pay attention and see if this will affect the outcome of the game. Sometimes it does. I've seen it before. And Neoplanet S is one of those maps where drops are very effective simply because you have this large ring in the center of the map. So there's no really direct way to your opponent's base. You have to take a long route. You have to take this L route to your opponent's base. Other maps such as Whirlwind, Belshire Vestige, is not nearly as long. And so this map, drops by air are much more effective. The factory is coming up for Cass, and he's putting a second supply depot where his barracks might have went. So he still wants to get that wall off done, except not with the barracks. And Bunny is going for the command center. So he wants to make this an economic advantage over his opponent. And remember, neither player has scouted each other. Bunny is sending in a Reaper, and now this lone Marine... actually, there's 2 Marines here, but there's so much area to jump up. Now the Reaper's going to be able to get into the main of Cass. Should be able to pick off this lone SCV. But now this Reaper has a lot of problems. He has nowhere to go. He's going to have to run, and he was not able to pick off that SCV. 1 shot away. And now with the 3 Marines, that Reaper is going to have to think about it. Especially with the Hellion out, the Reaper's not going to be able to do too much if the Hellion does spot the Reaper. But the Reaper is going to hide over here right now. And instead, Cass is going to send the Hellion to do his own scouting. Unfortunately, that ramp is completely blocked. And so, Bunny has much more scouting information than Cass is going to be able to ascertain. Cass was able to see the orbital command, though, and that should give a lot of information, or enough information to Cass that there should be, or should not be, that much aggression, at least early on. And it looks like it might be a drop, as the medevac is coming out from Cass. He doesn't have that many units. He only has 5 Marines and a damaged Hellion. And he's going to plop down that command center on the low ground. And this medevac is going to fill up with those 5 Marines and that damaged Hellion. And it looks like we're going to see some early drop play. Bunny starport is a little bit behind. Remember, he went for the command center, the expansion command center first. Unfortunately for Cass, this Reaper is coming in here and doing significant damage. Able to kill 2 SCVs already, as all the units are picked up by Cass, but now Cass is going to do his own drop, but there's 3 Hellions here. Have to spread these Marines a little. They're in the line of fire, literally, and now they're going to get picked up and boosted away in that medevac. There's also a Viking out for Bunny, so now this medevac is under attack as well. And so that drop was not successful, not able to destroy many units. And Cass is going to retreat. He has a Banshee on the field with no cloak, so interesting. Only getting the one Banshee and then switching the tech lab over to his factory to start building tanks. And here's something else to note. It's strange that Cass built his command center so much later, but Bunny has not even started mining from his expansion. So that's a little bit interesting. The supplies do favor Bunny, though, by about 10. And now this Banshee is in no man's land, and it is going to get shot down by these two Vikings. So once again, the Vikings are playing a role, killing that Banshee immediately. And now with this long stream of Hellions coming in, these SCVs and Marines are going to be under heavy fire. They're going to hide in the bunker. But it's not enough range. This tank is going to provide the range that they need. But the Hellions still able to destroy lots of the SCVs. 7 workers killed already. And now they've surrounded that tank. The tank is not able to fire down on them. The tank unsieges. But 9 workers were killed. And so now Cass has a huge economic disadvantage. He has his 3rd orbital up, but he doesn't have enough SCVs. So Bunny is pulling ahead, and now he's building more and more barracks as well. And Bunny does have air superiority as well. He has the Vikings, and I really like it when you're playing TVT and you have a lot of Vikings, simply because Vikings have so much range that they're able to take down medevacs easily or banshees. Cass is fortifying with siege tanks and building more barracks as well. So both players are going to try and settle down for a little bit before they head on out. Double engineering bays are coming up for Bunny, so he will have the upgrade advantages. Engineering bays are not even, actually, Cass does have an engineering bay, but he hasn't used it yet. And this composition by Cass has a lot of tanks, but not that many Marines. And so this kind of force is very susceptible to stimmed units or banshees. Bunny, on the other hand, has a lot more Marines, but he does not have stim completed yet, as both players are still researching stim, and that mine is going to also prevent the landing of the 3rd orbital. Scan does go down for Cass. He's able to see everything in the main base of Bunny's. Bunny has put down a scan to clear that mine, and now he's going to be able to start mining from that 3rd orbital. And so he has a distinct situation. Cass is following suit. So both players really don't have much of an economic advantage. And once again, even though Cass lost 9 SCVs, the supplies are fairly even, and he's mining from the 3rd before his opponent is. So can Cass make an advantage out of this small economic edge? Unfortunately for that medevac, it's going to lose 7 of the Marines, and that's why the Vikings are just so good. And now this lone Marine is going to march into his doom. It's just a matter of time. That's a lot of blood from one Marine. And it looks like Bunny is going to move out here, as his stim is almost completed. And his combat shields as well. Cass has to be very careful here, as his combat shields isn't completed. He has stim already. He's going to have high ground advantage if Bunny wants to come in here. This medevac is fired on by the Vikings. And Bunny's going to try and get around that siege tank line. And those Vikings are going to provide a little bit of extra vision. And there go 3 Marines. Because you have to remember, the range of the siege tank, it's actually one range more than their vision. So if you have air units, for example, or a scan, you can actually fire on other enemy tanks if they do not have vision of your tanks. And this is what I'm talking about. And now the tank is going to fire back. But remember, this tank was fired on first, so Cass is going to have to retreat, and he's going to get repaired now. So another scan did go down for Cass, and that's a lot of minerals lost. He could have used that for a mule instead. Bunny's just using his Vikings, and I think Bunny's going to be able to fire on these tanks. So Cass has to retreat once again. Bunny is slowly inching forward, square by square, but at the same time, we've got about 16 Marines in the top left, but Bunny's going to stim in there with his Marines, and they're just going to eat them up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. One of the medevacs falls immediately, and the medevac is going to boost into Bunny's main. But there's so many Marines and tanks here, this incursion will also fail, and the SCVs are going to overtime using their blades cutting down those Marines. And now Bunny looks like he has a pretty good wall. He's been able to keep the pressure on, but Cass is going to march in here. The Marines are annihilating each other, but there's so many Marines from Cass. Cass is going to be able to pick off those last 3 tanks, and now Bunny's retreating with his Vikings, and Vikings are not as fast as stimmed Marines. And Bunny is retreating back to his base. But at the same time, Bunny has a large force coming from the top side of the map. He's going to march into the natural. These tanks are totally in the open, but Bunny is retreating once again. So 2 successful holds by Cass. And now the resources lost do favor Cass slightly. And Bunny's going to have to rethink and regroup about what he needs to do. He does have the upgrade advantage. He is at 2-2. Cass is only at 1 weapons and 0 armor. And so these Marines from Bunny should be able to wipe the floor with Cass's. We'll have to see if the upgrade advantage does come into effect. 2 Marines are picked off immediately, and Bunny is going to siege up. But if you notice, Bunny's army doesn't have that many tanks. And he's retreating now. 1 tank gets eaten up immediately. Cass is marching in there, but the superior weapons and armors of Bunny's Marines finally showing suit. And Cass has a 23 supply disadvantage. So Bunny, even though he didn't have that many tanks in that composition, he was able to hold off this push because his upgrades are so much better. Look at this. Bunny is getting his 3-3 upgrades, and Cass is only getting his +2 weapons upgrades. He has no armor upgrades. So +3 weapons on 0 armor are going to eat through Marines, and now with 5 full medevacs full of Marines, Bunny is going to drop into the main. And Cass's production facilities are under heavy bombardment by these stimmed Marines, these stimmed 2-2 Marines. Cass is going to be able to come in here and wipe this off. At the same time, a drop coming from Bunny directly into the siege tank line is going to provide diversion. A diversion for Bunny to break through this top contingent. And at the same time, his Marines are still wreaking havoc in the main, and Cass is going to have to GG. So Bunny, with the superior upgrade advantage, was able to sustain the pressure and finally show that if you don't have upgrades, you're not going to do that well. So good game, and I will see you guys next time.